What's up, guys? I'm going to explain to you why I don't plan out practice. So this is one of the unique things about how I coach. I'll admit that when I first started coaching, I had coaches when I was young. My coaches, they had everything planned out by the minute. 10 minutes of doing that, 5 minutes of doing that, 2 minutes of this and so forth. And I get it, I understand the structure of it. But when I started coaching girls basketball, when I was a lot younger, I quickly began to realize, I first started out doing that. I had my practices planned out, down by the minute, because that's what my coaches did with me. So I figured, okay, that's just how you do it. But then I quickly learned that coaching girls basketball, especially at the elementary level, that 7th and 8th grade level of girls who are literally just getting into the sport, that whole setup didn't work very well. And the reason for that is because you spend, 5 minutes on a drill, 10 minutes working on an offense, 2 minutes working on free throw shooting or whatever it is. You quickly begin to realize that those sections of minutes aren't enough. They're not enough for girls or kids who are just starting out with the game. So I want to say, after my first year, maybe my second year, I threw that whole plan out the window and just said, you know what? Whatever it is that we need to work on, we're just going to work on that. I think for me, it was the screen and roll, which is the oldest play in the book. We can all agree that. So teaching the screen and roll, that's all we did. We're going to teach the screen and roll, and that's it. We're going to do it over and over and over and over again until you guys get it right. And until you guys get it right, we're just going to keep doing it. So then it becomes a put it on them type of thing. I'm going to be disciplined enough and structured enough to teach you how to do it. But you guys are going to be the ones that have to learn it and make sure that you do it right. Otherwise, we're not going to do anything else. We're not going to move on to anything else until we get this done right. So that has been the formula that I've had for 20 years now. And I still do it, even here at the high school varsity level. I'm coaching at a 6A high school, and it's in the biggest conference, and that's exactly what I do. Because again, a lot of my girls, maybe they play other sports, whatever, and so I'm getting girls in the gym who may not necessarily be hardcore full-time basketball players, which is fine. And even if we did, it's still fine, okay? But for me personally, I pick out things that I feel we need to work on as a team during the season. Probably in the off season, we do more of the individual, getting them better at individual things, whether it's, the post players or point guard stuff or more individual shooting, that type of thing. But when it comes to season, now you have a group of girls that you need to advance forward to get ready for the games. So my sometimes, whether it's, you're focusing on defense or whether you're focusing on the fast break stuff or a play that you want to teach them, whatever it is, you focus on that and you do that over and over and over and over again until you're content with it. So when you watch my teams play, you can tell that we've invested time in the offense. I think probably all the coaches who have played against me would probably say that my girls know what they're doing, which is, the ball may not go in the hoop every single time, but they know how to run a play. And they know how to run a play because we've run them to Dickens on it, just over and over and over again. So when I call a play, maybe we have 3 or 4 plays that we run, very basic plays, but they know how to run them. And not just some of them, all of them. Okay, I want all, because our starting lineup changes every game, so I need all of my girls to be prepared. I think probably the top 2 things that I say at practice are stop and again. So I say stop, and I'll point at them and say, you're not supposed to be yada yada, we're supposed to be fixing this, you're not, better, blah blah blah, whatever. Okay, do it again and again and again and again. I've heard a lot of coaches say, we went over this at practice. I've heard that a lot from coaches, and I've even seen coaches, I've even been in the gym where other coaches are coaching their teams, and they spend a lot of time talking, telling them what to do, maybe showing them, and maybe the players run it through once, maybe twice or whatever, and then that's it. We went over this. And so I'm thinking in my head, when the players don't do it in a game and the coach gets really mad at them, We went over this at practice. You guys, yes, you did go over it, but are they trained? Okay? Practicing it and being trained are two different things. Going over it once, I mean, that's like learning information and taking a test on the same day. It's like you learn the stuff just enough to take the test and then you forget it. Okay? So they have to be trained. This is something they have to be trained every single day, over and over and over again. They need to make mistakes. If they don't make mistakes in practice, how are you going to correct it? So for me, especially when we start out, I almost want them to make mistakes so that I can correct them. Okay, that's important. They need to make mistakes. They need to know that they can make mistakes and that I correct them. But if I'm having to correct them over and over and over and over again on the same thing, now we have a problem. Now we have an issue. Now I have a right to get frustrated with them or to get upset with them. That's completely understandable. So when it comes to practice and what we're doing, I have done my job. I have done my job by training you on what to do, whether it's boxing out, whether it's the closeout, or taking a charge, or running a certain play. You know what to do because we've invested. That's the key word. We've invested a ton of time into those things. So therefore, I know that I've done my job because I've seen you do it 1,000 times at practice. So when I put you in the game, I expect it to be done, or we're finding somebody else who will do it. Because, I mean, as we all know, the coach's worst fear is that we teach them something at practice, and then you go into a game and it's like they've never done it before. We can all agree to that. And that's probably the most frustrating thing for me, is that when you teach them something at practice, they know what they're doing, they do it well at practice, you put them into a game and it's all gone. So, investment of time, okay? And it doesn't necessarily have to be in those increments. And that's why I do not plan out my practice. Another reason why I don't plan out my practice is because sometimes, and at this level, sometimes maybe at the lower levels, you don't know how many kids you're gonna have at practice. And I know that sounds weird because for me right now at the varsity level, I have a lot of committed girls. So we never really have an issue with attendance. That's never been the case. But at the lower levels, freshman JV, maybe even 7th and 8th grade levels, you don't necessarily know how many kids are gonna be there from day to day because of their lives, the things they got going on, or maybe they're just flaky or whatever the case is. So maybe you have 12 kids in your team, but some days you have 12, some days you have 8, some days you have whatever. I know for us at our freshman JV levels, we have some issues with that even here, where we show up to practice and there's kids, oh, I couldn't come because I got homework, or because I got this, or because I got band, or whatever it is that they're doing. So from day to day, we don't necessarily know how many kids we're gonna have at practice sometimes. Like I said, for me in varsity, it's a little different, but for the younger levels, it's understandable. So you plan out, what happens if you plan out a practice and you're expecting 11, 12 girls there, and you get 7 or 8? And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to that. So that's another reason why I didn't, we plan out this practice, but now we can't do it because we only got 8 kids here. So knowing your team is important. Knowing what you need to work on is important. And then investing the time. Investing the time. How much time do you need to invest until they get it right? Well, that's something that you guys are probably gonna have to figure out for each player, for your group, what they need and how long they need to do it, because sometimes those increments don't always add up, okay? So I hope this helps you guys on why I don't do it. I know it's not a popular thing to bring up. I know just about all the coaches out there will say you need to schedule and plan out your practices and be organized. No, I am, but I know exactly what my team needs to work on, and I will invest the time into it regardless of how long it takes. If it takes multiple days, I'll do it. I'll make sure that we'll do it over and over again until they get it right. So whether or not that's something you agree with, that's fine. But I appreciate you guys watching. Take care. Good luck to you, Coach.